Dear Dharma friends, today we return to the Muc Duc Buddhist Institute in Surabaya, Indonesia, to reflect upon the complete compassionate teachings of Elder Baishui, the Holy Emperor, delivered in 1993. The teachings of Elder Baishui are a precious treasure, not only recording profound instructions, but also serving as a lamp illuminating the path of self-cultivation, Tao practice, and saving sentient beings. In every teaching, Elder Baishui urged us to maintain gratitude, honor our parents, respect our teachers, establish vows of cultivation, and dedicate ourselves to serving humanity. He emphasized that cultivating the Tao is cultivating the heart, and practicing merits is fulfilling vows. Only by firmly upholding our vows can we transcend karmic obstacles and return to the Eternal Mother. The complete teachings of Elder Baishui are not only for today's disciples, but also an everlasting spiritual heritage for future generations. This book has been translated faithfully from the original words, with only minor adjustments in phrasing to suit each language and local culture, preserving the essence of the teachings. We invite everyone to listen with sincerity, to receive the wisdom and boundless compassion that Elder Baishui so kindly imparted, awakening the light of enlightenment within, and together carrying heaven's mandate to universally save all beings.
This is the first time disciple comes here, and I must first express my gratitude to everyone. Without those who cultivate and spread the Tao, disciple would not be here today. Our meeting is destined, and cultivating the Tao requires cherishing this affinity and always keeping a heart of gratitude. In the family, parents raised us from childhood, enduring many hardships so we could grow up. Thus we must be grateful for their kindness. In society, we should be thankful to the nation. When we see the police, we should thank them for protecting us. When eating, we should thank the farmers who grow crops and those who cook meals. If we usually fail to think of this, we fall into afflictions, believing our parents are not good, our siblings are not good, our nation is not good, thus living in daily suffering. Today as we gather, we must thank heaven, thank our revered masters, thank the transmission masters from Taiwan who came to open the Tao, and thank the guiding teachers. Likewise, if Mr. Wu Hanzhong had not sold this land, we would not be able to meet here today. Therefore, without everyone's contribution, nothing could be accomplished. Wherever we are, we must keep a heart of gratitude, and then every day will be like heaven. Even when someone scolds us, we should thank them for helping us eliminate our karmic debts, keeping our hearts calm and balanced. If we instead think, "What right do you have to scold me?" and respond with anger, even fighting, then heaven and hell are separated by only a single thought. Therefore, when we receive the Tao, that very point is called the Tao. What we explain in words is called teaching. But the Tao itself is our destiny. Human beings have fundamental roots. The physical body is the branch, without the spirit. How could the body move? Without the body, the spirit could not manifest. Thus, essence and function must be united. Christianity, Buddhism in Indonesia, and Islam, all are good, but if people do not follow the moral precepts in practice, what use is mere baptism? I believe in Buddhism, but what benefit is there if one believes in Buddha, yet fails to show filial piety to parents and does no good deeds? Then faith in any religion is useless. After all, we are human. Human beings are the most spiritual among all creatures, and must fulfill the work worthy of that highest spirit. Now we are disciples of Ji Gong living Buddha. If we are his disciples, we must follow his example. But what about us humans? We say, selfish, without righteousness. We must cultivate the Tao, cultivate the heart. If our hearts are not upright, then I dare say there will not be a single righteous deed. And true cultivation will be very difficult indeed. At present, heaven has widely opened universal salvation, commanding us to become Buddhas, to cultivate the Tao in the heart, to practice the Tao within our hearts, and to rescue sentient beings from the sea of suffering. If one dedicates oneself to saving the world and helping people, then one is truly a Buddha. Consider this. Buddhism was brought into China more than 1,000 years ago. Christianity or Catholicism was introduced into China in 1993. and the teachings of Jesus have already been present for 450 years. All of these have long histories. Yet our master and mistress, entrusted with heaven's mandate, have spread salvation through the 3 stages, and in just 50 years it has already spread across nations worldwide. Such a phenomenon has never existed in all of history. Therefore, how can we recognize a true master who carries heaven's mandate? Look, our teacher is also just an ordinary person. And Confucius too was an ordinary man, often driven away wherever he went. Only after he passed away at the age of 100 did people begin to praise him as a sage. Afterwards, people went searching for a sage, but none could be found. In the scriptures it is recorded, with affinity. One encounters the Buddha appearing in the world, without affinity. One only meets the Buddha in nirvana. The Buddha too was once human. Shakyamuni Buddha also had a wife and children. He never built temples, never burned incense, never recited sutras, nor spent all day in meditation. Only after he passed away at the age of 100 did people begin to call him Buddha, and later, temples were built to worship him. When we receive the Tao, we must clearly understand the fundamental roots of the Tao and not cultivate blindly. I once heard of a Dharma master who traveled to different countries, teaching people to press the heart, sit in meditation, and seek liberation. He even pressed others' hearts for them. In truth, when we obtain one single point of transmission, it is already like heart to heart, mind to mind, in the Buddha's teaching. With that one point, you already know clearly where it lies. As for meditation, the one sitting is just this rotting body of flesh. Even if one enters deep concentration and does not eat for 8 days, what use is that? The living Buddha teacher said, that is nothing more than a corpse guarding ghost. Even if one lives to 200 years, this decaying body must still be discarded. So why do we come into this world? We humans have a mission. If every day is spent only meditating, reciting Amitabha Buddha, neglecting even one's own parents, then this is mistaken. The Buddha's sutras state very clearly, the inferior dharma is like burned sprouts, rotten seeds. And in the Vimalakirti Sutra the 2 vehicles are called burned sprouts and rotten seeds. Unable to arouse the supreme Bodhi mind, utterly useless. Parents toil bitterly to raise their children, and yet you would cast them aside? That is not how one becomes a Buddha. From ancient times until now, never has a Buddha attained enlightenment by sitting idly in temples, but by going forth to save living beings, rescuing one's parents from the sea of birth and death. The great Tao is found within the simplicity of daily life. Outside there is no Tao, the Tao resides within your heart. Outside there is no Buddha, the Buddha dwells within your heart. In the past, Shakyamuni Buddha was the same. At that time, many people opposed him, but in the end he attained Buddhahood. And you, what are you searching for? The Buddha has already departed, seeking him now. You will not find him in this world. Over 2.500 years have passed. Many have recited sutras, many have lectured on them, many have practiced meditation, and many have followed religions, yet not a single one has become a Buddha. If you doubt this, go and see for yourself. Without heaven's mandate, no one dares to transmit the heavenly Tao. Today, heaven has opened universal salvation, and the Tao has descended among the common people, transmitted by ordinary men and women. Remember, 60 years ago, the sages and Buddhas wrote through spirit pen that, soon, all religions will have been brought into China from abroad. Afterwards, from China, people will take Confucianism as the root and foundation, and it will spread to all nations of the world. At that time, many did not believe, for this was no simple matter. But now, after 50 years, look around you, the Tao has indeed spread across nations throughout the world. Therefore, from where can the heavenly mandate of a true master be recognized? Confucius once said, "Heaven sees as my people see, heaven hears as my people hear." This means that the will of heaven is the will of the people, and the intention of heaven is revealed through the hearts of the common people. If the heavenly mandate were false, how then could the Tao of our Master have spread so swiftly across all the nations of the world? Preaching the Tao apart from one's true nature is nothing but heterodox and deviant paths. The Buddhist scriptures clearly state, the true nature spoken of by the sages and by the Buddha is precisely what we often fail to find. Now, through receiving one single point of transmission, one immediately understands, acting according to the conscience of heaven and the principles of righteousness. By attaining this point, we come to know our own true nature. The sages said, to follow one's nature is called the Tao, meaning that to act in accord with heavenly conscience is to see one's nature. True nature is formless and cannot be seen with the eyes. Thus, when a true master grants one point, it is called attaining the Tao. When we receive the Tao and put it into practice, bringing liberation to others, helping them transcend life and death, this is called virtue. Having the Tao requires also having virtue. Once you have attained the Tao and recognized your own root, you must establish virtue. To establish virtue means, what you speak with your mouth, you must also carry out in action. If you speak a good word, and others hear it and are uplifted, they will praise you as a person of virtue. Today, each of us can proclaim the Tao on behalf of heaven. From ancient times until now, ordinary people never dared to say this. But today we represent heaven in declaring the great Tao and transforming beings. Then, are you not truly a Buddha yourself? The Buddha is the one who proclaims heaven's teaching. And we are representatives of the immortals and Buddhas. For example, when Guanyin Bodhisattva bestows an exhortation, and we take his words to expound, are we not then representing Guanyin Bodhisattva? When you deliver the admonitions of Ji Gong the living Buddha, you are likewise representing Ji Gong the living Buddha. Therefore, no one should look down upon themselves. The three treasures we have received must each be earnestly studied and practiced. If the Tao were false, a mere deception, how could it possibly have spread throughout nations across the world? Yet today, even in the preaching of the Tao, there are many impostors. In the future, there will be even more. False maitreya, false patriarchs, false leaders, all will arise. Already they exist today, and in the days to come, they will multiply further. Children, hold firmly to your vows. If you go against your oaths, you will face heaven's punishment, struck down by thunder, cursed by heaven and earth. When you establish the vow to cultivate and spread the Tao, remember well the words of your teacher. If you aspire to proclaim heaven's teaching and deliver all beings, then in the future you can achieve the Tao. Return to the realm of Wu Ji Li Tian, and participate in the grand assembly of Long Hua. When merits and deeds are judged, you will have a share. Even your 9 generations of ancestors will be delivered. This is the perfect fulfillment granted by heaven. If you do not yet have the vow to cultivate and spread the Tao, at the very least, you must uphold your original vow, so that in the future, when you pass away at 100 years, you will surely return to heaven. All will return to heaven. But just as in the human world, there are distinctions of rank, Tam Pham, Luke Pham, and Ku Pham lotus platforms. For example, in the human world, if you never study, you cannot become a county magistrate, nor can you become a university professor. Heaven has already opened the grand examination. Later, when you return to heaven without any merits, you will have no share in the Ku Pham lotus platform. Therefore, our cultivation and propagation of the Tao must carry many hopes. The hope that your 9 generations of ancestors will be delivered. The hope that society and the nation will become harmonious and good. And the hope that when you return to heaven, you will sit upon the Ku Pham lotus platform bestowed by the Divine Mother. Yet if you only harbor vain hopes without truly cultivating, spreading the Tao, establishing merit and virtue, and offering selfless service, then all those hopes are meaningless. Once you have a vow in your heart, you must practice the Tao, spread it, and dedicate yourself with sacrifice. The teacher hopes that in the future, all of you may sit upon the Ku Pham lotus platform. But if you do not cultivate and truly spread the Tao, then surely there will be no lotus platform for you to sit upon. Heaven has taught that in the final days of the Kalpa, all beings must undergo tribulation, and only the virtuous will remain. At that time, Maitreya Buddha will descend, unifying all religions, bringing all teachings into one, and only then can the world be renewed in goodness. We, today, have come into the world under heaven's mandate. And later we must return to heaven to report our mission and take part in the grand assembly of Long Hua, where merits and deeds will be judged. These matters heaven has already foretold to us. Even if you seek the Tao a little late, as long as you strive to catch up, you still have a share, but you must cultivate and spread the Tao. Just as lecturer Chong came from Taiwan to Indonesia to propagate the Tao. With you fellow practitioners here present, she surely has great merit. If she had not come to spread the Tao here, how could Indonesia have what it has today? You must do the same. Wherever there is no temple of the Tao, we should go and establish one, opening new ground. When you reach the end of your life, you will attain the Tao, and lead others to return to heaven. To stand before the Divine Mother to deliver your mandate. At that time, your merit will surely be recorded. But if, when you pass away at 100 years old and return to Wu Ji Li Tian, among the 9.6 billion children of the Divine Mother you have not guided even one back, then what face will you have to meet the Divine Mother? Surely, you will have no share in the Ku Fam Lotus platform. It is the same in the human world. If you work diligently and in an orderly way, your children will be good, your household will be stable, and you yourself will enjoy peace. But if you refuse to work, then surely you will have nothing. If you are lazy, then you won't even have a roof over your head. Therefore, cultivating the Tao is entirely the responsibility of each individual. The teacher hopes that those of you who have not yet brought your whole family into the Tao will quickly encourage them to join. Likewise, quickly guide your friends and relatives to seek the Tao. Once the Tao passes by, there will be no more chance. Those who have not yet adopted vegetarianism should begin at once. Look at the teacher. Even at 93 years old, not even a slight cold has occurred. This is the benefit of keeping a vegetarian diet. The teacher hopes that all of you will truly be diligent and fulfill your vows. Today we gather here, first of all to express gratitude for heaven's grace and the virtue of the masters, as well as to the guiding master and the transmitting master. Without the pioneers from Taiwan who came to open and propagate the Tao, how could we possibly have this day? As I just mentioned about transmitting Master Chong, who came here to initiate the Tao mission. The heavenly Tao is by nature not the work of a single person but the endeavor of a collective. Here, Mr. Go was not working alone either. Yet he contributed his wealth and endured hardship to build a great Dharma vessel for the Divine Holy Mother. Today, as this Dharma vessel is inaugurated, I came here especially because of him. Having waited for 2 full years, now at the age of 93, stepping up to this stage, I worry that I may trouble everyone. Our meeting today is all due to affinity, and we must cherish this precious bond. Just like this gathering, once it has passed, even if you were to bring 10,000 taels of gold, it would be difficult to have such a reunion again. Therefore, in cultivating the Tao, one must seize the right opportunity. If you can grasp the moment, you will be able to cultivate and receive the Tao, but if you only sit and wait, what exactly are you waiting for? Heaven will never wait for you. From ancient times until now, there have been many who practice the Tao, but those who truly attain it are far too few. That is why an enlightened master is hard to encounter, and the true Tao is difficult to seek. What is called the true Tao? Could the Tao truly be divided into real and false? Only when we receive the one-point transmission from the enlightened master can we realize that our true nature is eternally unchanging and never destroyed by time. Thus, it is called the wordless true sutra and the sacred formula. The 5-word true mantra is formless and without appearance. The black words on white paper are merely teachings left by the sages and Buddhas. If you only recite such scriptures, you cannot become a Buddha. Only when we follow and put into practice the teachings of the sages and Buddhas can we truly attain Buddhahood. Today is the era of carrying out heaven's mandate. Yet we are but ordinary people. Who dares to claim they act on behalf of heaven? Only the saints would dare to say so. However, since we have received the heavenly Tao, we may represent heaven, proclaim the great Tao, and guide sentient beings. Now that the Tao has descended among the common people, everyone can cultivate. Whoever aspires to spread the Tao will achieve success. Once you have sought the Tao, your name is inscribed on the heavenly register. But if you only have your name recorded without actually spreading the Tao, without practicing merits and fulfilling vows, then that registration is of no use. Therefore, each person must set a firm resolve, whether one is a transmitting master, a lecturer, an altar host, or even someone cooking in the kitchen or doing service. All are equal. Yet the idea of equality today is often misunderstood. Families now tend to interpret it as equal rights, the grandfather, the father, the children, all demanding the same authority. Is this not disorder? A family must have the ethics of a family. A nation must have the laws of a nation. And each individual must uphold personal discipline. Only then can it truly be called society. If day after day there is disorder because of a mistaken understanding of equality, and no one is willing to respect another, how can the nation or society ever become good? Today, heaven has widely opened salvation. And the principle of the Tao is that all religions must return to one source. Only then can the world truly become harmonious and good. Yet such goodness must first begin with ourselves. And its foundation lies within the family. Parents must uphold the moral duty of being parents. Children must fulfill the filial piety of being children. Eating, resting, and daily living must never depart from the Tao, that is, one must always act and speak according to heavenly principle and conscience. The Buddha Shakyamuni once taught, the true Buddha is only found in the practice of daily family life. Now that heaven has grandly spread salvation and the Tao has descended to the common people, it is no longer necessary to leave home and become a monk. Everyone can spread the Tao. Everyone can cultivate the Tao, regardless of age or gender, wealth or poverty, even if you serve as an altar host or as a transmitting master. All of these are but empty titles. If you do not uphold the Buddha's precepts, do not perform merits, and do not establish virtue, then even if you are a senior elder, Tian Nyan, you will still fall into hell. Even our own teacher once had senior elders. But why did they not attain the Tao? It was precisely because they did not go out to propagate the Tao. Today, whoever truly takes up the work of spreading and organizing the Tao will attain, and whoever devotes themselves earnestly to cultivating the Tao will realize it. Today, as we gather together, we must first give thanks to the transmitting masters, to the support of everyone, and to the assistance of the heavenly immortals and Buddhas, wherever it may be. Those who contribute their efforts to assist the Tao are themselves embodiments of immortals and Buddhas. Whether it is cleaning the tables, lighting the fire to cook meals, driving to transport others, or helping someone fulfill their path, so long as it is done for the sake of the Tao field. The more hardship and effort one endures, the greater one's merit will be. I am a senior elder, Tian Nyan. When others cook a meal and invite me to eat, if I simply sit down and eat, how could that be called merit? To be a senior elder, one must fulfill the duty of a senior elder, which is to guide others in cultivating and propagating the Tao. The transmitting master represents the teacher in spreading the Tao. If their words are in accordance with the principles of truth, we should listen; if not, we should not. The admonitions given by the immortals and Buddhas, if they accord with reason, we follow; if not, we do not. Even a child, if speaking words of truth, must be heard. Cultivating the Tao is not about blindly obeying anyone. Our teacher has often reminded us, in cultivating the Tao, one must discern the truth clearly. Just as a child obeying their father is considered filial, but if the father tells the child to steal, and the child obeys, how can that be called filial? What I shared today are all the words our teacher has taught. The teacher has established the Buddha's regulations, to honor the teacher. Respect the Tao, uphold the Buddha's rules, revere the elders, and be filial to parents, but never to blindly obey the teacher. A true cultivator must clearly understand the Buddha's precepts. Once, a transmission master said to the teacher, "I will only follow your words." The teacher replied, "That is not correct. If I told you to take a knife and kill someone, would you still obey?" Therefore, cultivating the Tao means recognizing the truth, not blindly following others. Today, we are human beings, and thus we must understand human ethics. Within the family there must be love and respect between parents, siblings, and friends. This is the natural moral bond everyone must uphold. However, heaven does not judge by human emotions. In the future, only merit and virtue will determine one's destiny. Without merit, there can be no spiritual attainment. If one lacks merit but only prays for the compassion of the Buddhas and immortals, it will be in vain. For heaven does not show favoritism based on sentiment. Therefore, all must clearly understand this truth. Cherish the Tao. Why is it called a treasure? Because a treasure is something most precious, whose value cannot be measured. Hence it is called priceless. One's life cannot be bought with money, and that is why it is the priceless treasure. And this very life, you must preserve and save by your own effort. When you sincerely pray to the Buddhas and immortals, there will surely be a response, for your spirit will resonate with theirs. Without such a response, relying on me alone, how could the heavenly Tao ever be spread throughout all nations? That you are able to receive the Tao and transmit it is because your ancestors accumulated virtue. If your forefathers had not done so, then even if you sought the Tao, you would hardly be able to truly believe or accept it. Therefore, the Tao always seeks those with affinity when the destined moment arrives. A true master will naturally bestow the enlightenment. Once you have received the Tao, there is no need to cling to past life roots. Instead, reflect on your present mind. Are your actions righteous? Are they good? Even if in past lives you had no foundation, and your ancestors did not accumulate virtue. Now that you have the fortune to encounter the true Tao and know that this life is supremely precious, you must quickly save yourself and deliver others. With such a vow, you can still attain the fruition of a Buddha Tathagata. From ancient times until now, all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have attained their state through cultivation, as clearly recorded in the Buddhist scriptures. You and I are the same, our spiritual nature is alike. Before receiving the true Master's pointing of the way, even if we practiced meditation, recited scriptures, underwent baptism, received precepts, or observed various disciplines, we could only become good people, yet we still could not transcend birth and death. Today, heaven has granted great amnesty across the three realms. There is no distinction of race or nationality, no distinction of gender, age, wealth, or poverty, as long as one has the aspiration and resolves to propagate the Tao. Whoever cultivates will attain. I hope everyone will reflect deeply. For time and years wait for no one. If you wait a few more years before taking action, it may already be too late, even within less than 2 months. One might already have passed away, so what is there left to wait for? At present, the Master and the Holy Mother are no longer in this world. Among all those who once followed the Master to spread the Tao in the past, only I remain. Therefore, our gathering today is truly a great and precious affinity. I sincerely hope that all fellow Tao members present here will soon arouse the aspiration to stand forth and propagate the Tao. For those who do not yet have such resolve, at the very least, you must hold firmly to your original vow. To go against your vow will surely incur heaven's chastisement and thunder's punishment. If you can uphold your vow, you are assured of returning to heaven in the future. Yet, whether you will have a position in attainment in heaven depends on yourself. Only with merit and virtue can one have a rightful station. If, in the Tao Hall, you contribute not even a single coin to support the Tao, do not save even one soul, do not perform even a single good deed, and do not even guide your own parents to seek the Tao, letting them fall into hell, then what meaning is there for you to ascend to heaven? For, among 100 virtues, filial piety stands first. Today, as heaven has grandly opened universal salvation, we have been granted the heavenly Tao. But before all else, we must fulfill the duty of being human. If one cannot even fulfill the basic way of humanity, then baptism or seeking the Tao is of no true benefit. From the sacred teachings of the immortals and Buddhas, from the scriptures of the Tao school, or from the doctrines of the three teachings of the sages, you must carefully reflect. Are the deeds you are doing today the same as those that the sages and immortals once practiced? If you are carrying out the work of the sages and immortals, then you yourself are a sage or an immortal. This truth is very simple. When you do good deeds, people will call you a good person. Why would they not? Ask yourself. Have you done anything beneficial for your parents? Have you contributed to society and your nation? If you do not perform good deeds, naturally no one will call you a good person. When you work for wages, people call you a worker, but when you save lives and bring peace to the world, then you are truly a Buddha or a Bodhisattva. Each time we meet, the chances of meeting again decrease by 1. This physical body does not truly belong to us. You have no absolute ownership over it. So you must clearly understand this truth. People often say, "This is my wife, my son, my property," yet these are merely attachments of desire. When you close your eyes for the final time, everything will vanish. At that moment, how pitiful it is, because you will fall into hell. Neither your wife nor your son can follow you. All the sins you have committed, you alone must bear. As for wealth, not a single coin can be taken along, it all belongs to others. Only the karmic sins you have created will accompany you to hell, and if you have accumulated virtues, then those merits will guide you to heaven. In the end, life offers only these 2 paths. I sincerely hope that everyone will often read again the holy teachings of the immortals and Buddhas. as well as the scriptures of the temple, to reflect and examine whether our actions align with those teachings. For someone who is illiterate, attaining Buddhahood may in fact be easier. Why? Because even if you cannot understand what others are saying, as long as you keep the vow to save lives, nurture a kind heart, speak good words, and do good deeds, then at that very moment you are already a living Buddha. If, while still in this human world, you refuse to do good, how could you possibly become a Buddha after death? If during life you have not performed a single good deed, then after death no one will ever call you a good person. Therefore, human life is exceedingly precious. Moreover, we are fortunate to be living in the final epoch of the three cycles, when heaven has opened wide the universal salvation. If we miss this opportunity, there will never be another chance. Today as we gather, you must always remember to be grateful to those who first established the Tao here. Because they built this temple, we now have a place to come together, to practice and to study. Each day, maintain a heart of gratitude when eating rice. Be thankful to the farmers who grew it when returning home. Be grateful to your parents. Without them, how could we grow up and become who we are? When stepping into society, be grateful to the nation. Living with such gratitude, every day you are already dwelling in heaven. On the other hand, if you only focus on what is not good here or what is unsatisfactory there, then day by day you are living in a sea of suffering. Heaven and hell are truly just one thought apart. Heaven is right here in this human world, not something to wait for after death. I sincerely hope that everyone will study the Tao wholeheartedly, and whenever you have time, come often to the temple. At first you may not understand, may not know how to speak of principles, but if you keep coming, in time you will naturally understand and be able to share them. If you never come, you will never know. The most important thing is this: as human beings, we must fulfill the principles of humanity. Filial piety, brotherly respect, loyalty, trustworthiness, propriety, righteousness, integrity, and honor are what the sages handed down. If you cannot even show filial piety to your parents, then what Tao do you truly believe in? How could there ever be sages or Buddhas who are disloyal or unfilial? In cultivating the Tao, we have the regulations of the Buddha, which must be studied often. Seeking the Tao must come from your own vow and aspiration, not from waiting for someone else to invite you. A good deed must be done by your own initiative. Why wait for others to ask? Therefore, only those who personally arouse the aspiration to seek the Tao can truly attain the Tao. Bowing the head is also a form of cultivation, a practice of discipline. In Indonesia, Muslims bow in prayer 5 times a day, and that too is a form of spiritual exercise. As for repentance, it is essentially the same in all religions. When one commits a mistake, one must sincerely ask heaven for forgiveness and vow never to repeat it again. This is extremely important and something everyone must keep in mind. I sincerely hope that all fellow practitioners may one day return to the infinite heaven, Wu Ji Li Tian, to reunite there, and that even your parents may also be delivered to transcendence. Only then will there be true joy. The good things we now enjoy in this world are only temporary. The most important thing is to regulate the family, that is, for the whole family to cultivate the Tao together, and for friends and relatives to be saved from the sea of suffering. Yet, achieving family harmony and cultivation is not easy. For within families there are often believers and non-believers alike. Even in my own family, my elder brother and mother once did not believe, and such situations are common. Therefore, if you wish to inspire and transform your loved ones, you must first practice bowing in humility and correct the faults and bad habits within yourself. The most important thing is to encourage and practice vegetarianism. A vegetarian diet not only saves money, but also preserves health, prevents illness, and carries absolutely no harm. Nowadays, people everywhere are promoting vegetarian living. I sincerely hope that all of you can cultivate the Tao within the family, that is, for the whole family to practice together, and even to hold Tao-seeking ceremonies right at home. Every household can practice in this way. Do you understand? If you do, that is truly wonderful. I bless you all with peace and safety, and I hope that each of you will firmly uphold your vow, never forgetting the aspiration you once made. Today's gathering is by no means ordinary. I sincerely hope that everyone will soon arouse the aspiration to host Tao gatherings, and if one does not yet have the resolve, At the very least, one must hold firmly to one's original vow. In this era of the final calamity, we must often study the teachings of the immortals and Buddhas, and the classics of the sages. To reflect upon ourselves and follow them. By doing so, anyone can become a sage, an immortal, or a Buddha, now that heaven has opened wide its universal salvation. When active, we save others; when still, we cultivate ourselves. Cultivating the Tao means cultivating the mind, training with the virtue of the inner sage. The Tao has its inner power, which is to keep the mind pure and tranquil. This is the true practice of meditation. Why is meditation less emphasized nowadays? Because human life is drowning in the sea of suffering, and saving others is more urgent. Building this great Dharma ship for the Divine Mother is precisely to rescue the good men and women lost in affliction. And this mission requires all of us to work together. Even in times of idleness, whether riding a train, flying on a plane, or sitting at home, one can still practice. The Tao is natural. You may sit cross-legged or simply on a chair, as long as your shoulders are relaxed and your back is upright. The scriptures record 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 humans guard the one earth. The center belongs to Earth of Wu Ji, meaning that the eyes rest at the mysterious pass, and body and mind become naturally calm. In that state of purity and serenity, with a peaceful mind and harmonious breath, at that very moment, you are already dwelling in heaven. In the past, I also diligently practiced meditation. During the day I was busy. But at night, when others went to sleep, I sat in quiet meditation. At that time, the body was calm, blood and energy circulated smoothly, which indeed benefited health. Yet such practice alone could not lead to enlightenment. The essential point is that, having received the one-point transmission from the true Master, we must keep the mind pure and tranquil, just as the sages taught. Whenever we are free, simply sitting quietly with a calm spirit and harmonious breath, that is true meditation. It is not that the Tao does not value meditation, but that the practitioner should meditate at any moment, which is called the true person's meditation. Traditional practice speaks of the eyes observing the nose observing the heart. In China, Taoist schools also taught such skills. The texts record methods of circulating yin and yang, the 5 elements, and the 8 trigrams, rotating the microcosmic orbit and turning the Dharma wheel, which they claimed could extend life to 200 years. But Master Ji Gong, the living Buddha, said, that is nothing more than a ghost guarding a corpse. What use is it to live 200 years? Parents would already be gone. Society and the nation would have no need for you. The physical body is but a foul sack of skin, destined to decay after 100 years. Such meditation is merely selfish cultivation for one's own body, meaning only to avoid creating further sins. The Buddha's teachings are clear. The lower Dharma is of no real use. A cultivator must discern well. We exist to serve society, to maintain harmony in the family, to rectify the heart and cultivate the self. That is our true duty. Upholding this duty, we must also inspire and transform those in society who do not yet understand the Tao. Most important is to move them by virtue. Even when facing those who are not good, or even those who do evil, we must still treat them with respect and move them with virtue, rather than condemning them. This is what is called the way of the inner sage and outer king. If you yourself lack virtue, then no matter how eloquently you speak, it is only an outer shell. In our time, when active we deliver others, when still we deliver ourselves. We both rectify ourselves and fulfill others. The sages teach, rectify oneself and accomplish others. And the Buddha teaches, self-awakening and awakening others. Meaning that once we are awakened, we should help others awaken as well. The minds of the Buddhas and the sages are essentially one. Let us emulate the sages and enlightened ones. Rectify the mind and cultivate the self. Correct our faults and turn toward the good. Save and transform living beings in this world. And also encourage them to rectify their minds and cultivate themselves. When inner cultivation and outer virtue are both complete, then by acting in this way you are a sage, an immortal, a Buddha. All things that are strange, sensational, or obsessed with the extraordinary belong to heterodox side paths. The sages teach ordinary, everyday virtue, hoping that everyone can practice it. People have contributed money and effort to build this great Tao hall. which is inaugurated today. Those who have given wealth and strength have merit. As for us who merely attend, we have not yet contributed, therefore we must quickly set to work. As I just mentioned, I hope that all of us will return to the infinite realm of truth, Vo Kuk Li Thien, and meet together at the side of the Holy Mother. Only then will our joy be truly complete. In cultivating the Tao, there is no distinction between early and late. The young bamboo shoots can surpass the old bamboo. Some may have sought the Tao for 20 years yet still have no attainment. For heaven cannot wait for just one person. Living Buddha Master once taught, each person must establish their own sacred endeavor. It is not a matter of following others. Therefore, whoever has made the vow to propagate the Tao should simply follow the truth in practice, carefully uphold the Buddha's regulations, honor the teachers, respect the elders, be filial to parents, sacrifice oneself, and deliver sentient beings from the sea of suffering. Every time we are blessed to meet, it is no easy matter. First of all, we must give thanks for heaven's grace and the virtue of the Masters. Without heaven's great opening of universal salvation, without the descent of the enlightened Master, how could we have this gathering today? We are all here under heaven's mandate, so we must never belittle ourselves. Everyone must unite with one heart and effort, for what we carry out is a shared work, not something that separates us. Living Buddha Master once taught, the play of Aries is like a drama. Each person must perform their own role. To have a vow is the work of each individual. No one else can replace you. Our teacher often said, the house of Tao, wherever there are fellow Tao members. That is our home. For example, today you come here as guests, others cook good food, and we all partake together. In the future, wherever you may go, understand that place too is your home. When the elders, the young, those above and those below all devote themselves wholeheartedly to one another, only then is it truly returning home. The Tao has its lineage. Yet the Buddhist scriptures spoken of today differ greatly from what Shakyamuni Buddha actually taught. Names such as Zen school, esoteric school, or Pure Land school did not exist during the Buddha's lifetime. When Buddhism spread to China, it was only after the Tang dynasty and especially following the 6th patriarch Huineng that names such as Zen school, Pure Land school, or Tiantai school appeared. In truth, the Tao has no name. Later, Buddhism introduced the concepts of Tathagata Zen and Patriarchal Zen. This is exactly the teaching of directly pointing to the mind, realizing one's nature and becoming a Buddha. Known as Patriarchal Zen, the Tao lineage has been handed down through many generations of patriarchs. Reaching the 17th patriarch, the Buddha enshrined today as the old patriarch. From childhood he was an orphan, unable to read, often lacking food, yet he devoted himself to seeking the Tao, practiced diligently, and eventually returned to heaven. After his passing, each disciple took charge of their own work. Our venerable master and matriarch were also ordinary people. But beginning in the 19th year of the Republic of China, that is 1930, the immortals and Buddhas manifested widely, descended to the altars, delivered teachings, and used human mediums to expound the Tao. The two of them received heaven's mandate to universally save the three realms. But at that time few believed, for such a thing had never happened before. Especially the case of a woman bearing heaven's mandate. What is true Tao, true principle, and true heaven's mandate? True means to speak beforehand and fulfill afterward. If words do not come true, who would believe? Yet many still did not understand this fundamental root. Our meeting today is truly a bond with the Grand Master and the Grand Matriarch. This bond is a virtuous connection carried over from many lifetimes. Just like the ties within a family between parents, siblings, husband and wife, and children. If within a family the children lack gratitude and instead give rise to resentment. If when a mother speaks words they dislike they respond with bias and refuse to learn what is good and righteous, then that is an evil bond. On the other hand, if father and children, siblings, and spouses live together in harmony, love, and mutual respect, then that is a virtuous bond. Therefore, the sage taught that being filial to parents, showing respect and love to brothers and sisters, is the fundamental foundation and the root of being human. In the beginning, our Grand Master and Grand Matriarch accepted heaven's mandate to universally save the three realms, heaven, earth, and humanity. At that time, many refused to acknowledge them. and they had to endure countless trials and tribulations. Forced to leave their homeland, they journeyed from Jinan in Shandong province to Tianjin, carrying only a small bundle, spreading the Tao as they traveled. Such a task was by no means easy. Today, although our Grand Master and Grand Matriarch are no longer in this world, the great Tao has already spread across nations throughout the world. In the 27th year of the Republic, in 1938, when I sought the Tao, there were only a few temples in Beijing. Our Grand Master and Grand Matriarch had already received heaven's mandate in 1930. Yet many still refused to acknowledge it. Some who had once followed the 17th Patriarch, upon realizing the true route, turned back to revere our Grand Master and Grand Matriarch. Such a matter was by no means simple. It was just like the 6th Patriarch Huineng, who, after receiving the robe and bowl, had to hide among hunters for 15 years, living on vegetables cooked beside meat, surrounded by dangers, until the right time came to open the Dharma gate and spread the great Tao. The Buddhist schools of esoteric, Zen, and Pure Land only came into being after the 6th Patriarch in the Tang dynasty. Before that they did not exist. Even Shakyamuni Buddha never called himself the founder of Buddhism. It was only later generations who honored him with that title. Now, in this era of the third period and the end of the age, heaven has opened a great universal salvation, something unseen since ancient times. What we have received in this single point is called the Tao. Shakyamuni Buddha transmitted this very same truth. Confucius also taught this same principle, known as the Tao of loyalty and empathy. Confucius once said, "Shen, my Tao can be grasped through a single thread." This means, Shen, my Tao can be fully understood through one guiding point. Upon hearing this, Zhuangzi immediately comprehended within and answered, yes. The other disciples did not understand, so they asked Zhuangzi about its meaning. Zhuangzi explained, the Master's Tao is simply loyalty and empathy. Hence later generations called the Tao of Confucius the Tao of loyalty and empathy. What we speak of today is precisely this Tao of loyalty and empathy. To devote one's whole heart, that is called loyalty. To place oneself in another's position and think on their behalf, that is called empathy. In other words, when we ourselves know that the Tao is most precious, we also want everyone else to know that the Tao is most precious. This is the true meaning that has been handed down. Shakyamuni Buddha once taught, I possess the treasury of the true Dharma I. The wondrous mind of nirvana, the reality of no form, the subtle Dharma gate, not established in words, and a special transmission beyond the scriptures. This means that within the Dharma there is a mode of transmission outside of written texts, not bound by words, known as the special transmission beyond scriptures. Thus he declared, one must awaken to the nature, and the mandate must be transmitted. These sayings are recorded in the scriptures. Yet later generations did not understand what it meant to transmit the Tao. Today, having received this one guiding point, we are able to comprehend the scriptures of all teachings. The mandate we carry is called heaven's mandate. At the time of the creation of heaven and earth, human beings were born with form and appearance. But what is formless and invisible is the heavenly nature. The doctrine of the mean says, what heaven imparts is called nature. This means that what heaven bestows upon human beings is called nature. Where then is heaven's mandate? Where is this nature? The scriptures record that it is located above, at the crown of the head. Human nature is also called spiritual nature, also called mind nature, and it is precisely this. Our thoughts arise from here. And when we speak of the three treasures, in truth we are speaking of this very thing. What our Tao teaches is the true nature principle mind Dharma. In Buddhism, this is called illuminating the mind in realizing one's nature. But how can one illuminate the mind if one only speaks much, gives long lectures, yet none of it relates to the true nature? Then it is nothing more than words and books. Having received this one guiding point, we must study it thoroughly. For the Buddha taught that one must awaken. Shakyamuni Buddha never instructed people to sit in meditation or to recite scriptures. Even incense offerings and prostrations were not practiced. At that time there were no temples, no incense, and without paper there could be no Buddhist scriptures. Yet despite this, he still attained Buddhahood. What matters most is that we must truly awaken. Many great Dharma masters have preached for decades. Yet when asked whether they have awakened or realized their true nature, They dare not answer. Shakyamuni Buddha once said, "If one relies on form to see me, or relies on sound to seek me, such a person is walking the heterodox path and cannot see the Tathagata. Then is not sitting in meditation simply using the physical body to search for the Buddha? And is not chanting, Amitabha Buddha, simply using sound to seek the Buddha? Such practices are of the heterodox path and cannot lead to seeing the Tathagata." We teach about the three treasures and the mysterious gate aperture, which are formless and invisible to the naked eye. Each person must personally contemplate and realize what has been affirmed in the scriptures and in the teachings of the sages through the ages. In fact, the scriptures of all religions all point to this one mysterious gate aperture. Therefore, our Tao has no scripture of its own. The elder teacher once said that the scriptures of other religions contain confirmations, while we ourselves have no scripture. In ancient times, Shakyamuni Buddha had no scriptures, and neither did Jesus. It was only 100 years later that disciples collected the words spoken by the Buddha into what became the Buddhist Sutras. And likewise the words of other sages were gathered into what became the Holy Bible. Today we are living in the era of the third epoch of the final Kalpa, when all things are fully manifest, those above in heaven, those upon the earth, and even those within the earth. The sky has always contained electricity. Yet in the past we did not know. Now, by relying on the currents in the atmosphere, people can communicate with one another. Our spiritual nature is just like this current. In ancient times it was already fully connected, but people did not believe. Now, however, it has been clearly proven. We human beings are born of heaven, sent into this world to govern and bring order. There have been 7 Buddhas who took turns governing the world, once their mission was fulfilled. They came from heaven and then returned to heaven. Yet we have created so much karma in the human realm that we cannot return. Therefore, heaven now grants a great amnesty to the 3 realms, with the true master descending, and the heavenly immortals and Buddhas collectively coming down to assist the Tao. Thus, today you who are gathered here are also those who, by heaven's mandate, have descended to aid and support the Tao. For this reason, the transmitting masters have chosen you and entrusted you with greater responsibilities. Whether you are willing to shoulder these responsibilities or not is entirely up to you, and has nothing to do with others. The teacher has established the Buddha regulations, and whether you follow them or not is your own choice. If you do not follow them, then that is no longer the Buddha regulations. Heaven does not compel us. But once we have sought the Tao and made vows before the Buddha hall, we must uphold the Buddha regulations. If you have sought the Tao yet do not attend the Buddha hall, then speaking of the Buddha regulations is useless. Matters of your own life must be borne by yourself. We represent heaven in expounding the Tao and in saving sentient beings. And if we wish to expound the Tao, we must first observe the Buddha regulations. If you do not learn the Buddha regulations, how can you even organize the expounding of the Tao? If you do not understand the Buddha regulations, then your efforts to guide others will also be in vain. Therefore, you must remember that the Buddha regulations are of utmost importance and are entirely the responsibility of each one of us. After seeking the Tao, the first thing is to clearly explain the 3 treasures. Next is to teach the Buddha regulations and the proper rites. Third is to speak about the vows that have been made. At the time of seeking the Tao, you made 10 great vows, among which the most important is to safeguard them with sincerity, to sincerely honor your parents, to sincerely uphold the Buddha regulations. If you can preserve them with sincerity, then all the other vows can also be fulfilled. If you lack sincerity, then what meaning is there in speaking of the Buddha regulations, or in practicing the Tao at all? Therefore, sincerity is the most comprehensive and far-reaching. Yet in your current study classes, you rarely examine the 3 treasures and seldom learn about the Buddha regulations. True repentance means that for the karmic offenses we have created over countless lifetimes, if we can sincerely repent, heaven will grant amnesty. Heaven never harms those who truly regret their wrongs. Past mistakes can be let go of. From now on, no more sins should be created. With sincere repentance, the karmic burdens of many lifetimes can be dissolved. To honor the teacher and revere the Tao is likewise of utmost importance. Today we cannot directly meet the teacher, so the transmitting master serves as the representative of the teacher to transmit the Tao. To respect the transmitting master is to respect the teacher. Yet what we truly honor is the Tao's principle. When the transmitting master speaks with reason, we listen. When the words of the immortals and Buddhas hold reason, we also listen. But if the transmitting master says something that does not accord with the Tao's principle, then we must study for ourselves and act accordingly. However, we must never look down upon the transmitting master, because he or she represents the teacher in transmitting the Tao. You must always remember this principle. This is like in a family. If your father is not disciplined, you must find a way to resolve the matter. Yet you must still be filial, respectful, and work to transform your parents. This is the duty of being a child. Living Buddha master often taught, one must take truth as the foundation for cultivation. In the family, you should listen to your parents. And that is right. But if your parents indulge in gambling, debauchery, or addictions, and when lacking money force you to steal in the name of filial piety, should you obey? Of course not. If you do not obey, does that make you an unfilial child? Certainly not. To honor the teacher and to be filial to parents must both be based on the principle of truth. The Buddha regulations teach us to respect the teacher and revere the Tao, and to be filial to our parents. If your parents are not upright, you must still honor them, but you cannot blindly follow them into wrongdoing. If your parents err and you still obey, then it is you who have gone astray. This Tao must be explained clearly. If a woman serves as a transmitting master, it means she represents the teacher in transmitting the Tao. When we honor the teacher and revere the Tao, it is to respect the teacher's heavenly mandate, not merely the individual, but if her words accord with truth, then we follow. If she instructs us to do something against principle and we still obey, then that is wrong. Therefore, the study classes must examine and understand this matter thoroughly. The Buddha regulations must be studied thoroughly, and when coming to the Buddha hall, they must be observed without fail. Just as the family has family rules, and society and the nation have laws, so too does the Buddha hall have its regulations. According to time, place, and circumstance, there may be adaptations, but as human beings we must always adhere to order and discipline. In whatever we do, we must act with sincerity and reverence. Without sincerity and reverence, even filial devotion to one's parents becomes meaningless. The vows we establish are centered on the word, sincerity, followed by the word, heart. To cultivate the Tao is to cultivate the heart. If your heart is not genuine and filled with stray thoughts, you cannot be said to cultivate the Tao. When we work in accord with heaven, our names are recorded above. If you establish merit and virtue, it is written in heaven's register. Even if you do not seek the Tao, you must still cultivate merit and virtue in order to leave a lasting name to posterity. If we have the heart, then let us shoulder more responsibility and manifest more in action. In heaven, the three officials recorded, and the immortals and Buddhas also recorded. When you act on behalf of heaven in spreading the Tao, surely the immortals and Buddhas will come to your aid. The vows you have made must certainly be carried out. For to fulfill your vows is to practice through meritorious deeds. When we seek the Tao, once we have made a vow, we must take responsibility ourselves. For heaven has already recorded it. And when we return to heaven, we must hand back that mandate. After seeking the Tao, you must hold firmly to your vow so that one day you can return to heaven. If you have no merit, no great vow, and no deeds performed, then when you return to heaven there will be no spiritual rank awaiting you. You must take responsibility, practice meritorious deeds, and establish virtue. Then heaven will record it. Later, when you return to heaven and submit your account, at the place of the three officials great emperor your name will be there. Together with the vows you made and the merits you accomplished, whether material offerings, dharma offerings, or fearlessness offerings, all will be clearly recorded. When the grand assembly of the dragon flower opens, your rank will be determined according to your merits. In the 9 grades of the lotus platform, everyone has a share. If you have merit, you will receive the position that rightfully belongs to you. Why is it that so many people in Buddhism never attain Buddhahood? Because they only focus on cultivating for themselves. And why did the disciples of Shakyamuni Buddha attain Buddhahood? Because they made great vows and, together with him, cultivated the Tao, spread the Tao, and worked to save sentient beings. The monks, nuns, and Buddhist associations of today are not the heavenly mandate, but merely human organizations, personal missions. When you do good deeds, it is fine. but heaven will not record it. Confucius once traveled among the feudal states for 14 years, teaching over 3,000 disciples. And in the end only Zhuangzi inherited the Tao lineage and became a sage. Shakyamuni Buddha taught for 49 years, and in the end passed his robe and bowl to Venerable Kasyapa. From generation to generation, the transmission continued, down to our own Grand Master and Grand Matron, who together received the heavenly mandate of the Patriarch, continuing the Tao lineage from ancient times. As for the widespread Buddhist associations today, once a monk takes ordination, anyone can accept disciples. That is not a true master. For the true master must be transmitted from patriarch to patriarch, as the one entrusted by heaven to transmit the Tao, and there can only ever be one. Therefore, people do not know who it is. But fortunately, now you have encountered and clearly seen that the true master is without error. If the heavenly mandate were false, how could it be spread throughout the nations of the world? At present, what is widely spread outside are the associations and organizations. Therefore, Tao and religion must be clearly distinguished. Buddhism often speaks of contemplating meditation and sitting in stillness. But this is merely a name created by people. In reality, when we attain this one point of transmission, the mind becomes calm, the breath harmonized, and the true self is upheld. This is the true meaning of Zen. Zen is samadhi, the true self in stillness. The sitting that people usually refer to only concerns the physical body, which one day will be discarded. It is illusory. Once we see through that the body is false, we understand that only the spiritual nature given by heaven is real. And one day it must return to heaven to fulfill its mandate. Knowing the body is illusory removes greed. Without greed, there is no affliction. Buddhism teaches that greed, anger, and ignorance are the three roots of hell, animality, and hungry ghosts. When we attain this one point, and use the scriptures of all religions as confirmation, we will realize this point is not mistaken. Once we recognize the truth clearly, we must then step forward to spread the Tao. In the practice of cultivation, there are often cases where someone hears that the Tao is good and immediately follows it. Or hears that the Tao is not good and right away abandons cultivation and stops coming to the temple. This is exactly blind cultivation, like a blind person unable to see the path. Therefore, when you are an altar host or a lecturer, you must clearly explain to everyone about the true master's one point of transmission. For that one point is truly the priceless treasure. Sometimes an illiterate old woman can attain the Tao the fastest. Attaining the Tao is not about eloquent preaching, nor about wealth or high status, and certainly not about having great academic knowledge. Why then can someone without literacy attain the Tao more quickly? Because she grasps the one point of transmission, understands that the mandate is of utmost importance, and promptly goes out to save people, day by day working to rescue the world, help others, and deliver all beings. Is not saving and uplifting humanity itself the practice of a Buddha? Merely going to temples and bowing before statues is only an outer form, an illusion. We act on behalf of heaven to deliver all beings. To expound the Tao is to carry out the work of heaven. If we truly do this, then in the future we will surely ascend to heaven. But if we commit actions against our conscience, then in the future we will certainly fall into hell. Human beings are the most spiritual among all creatures. So the way of being human must be fulfilled properly. If one cannot even uphold the basic principles of humanity, lacking loyalty, filial piety, benevolence, righteousness, propriety, and integrity, then even if one bows and recites scriptures every day, it is of no use. To expound the Tao is to protect and safeguard everyone. All beings in this world are the children of the Eternal Mother, and thus we must give rise to a heart of great compassion, to love and protect all. Without a heart of compassion and love, we cannot cultivate the Tao. Lacking compassion gives rise to anger, and with anger one will fall into hell. When encountering those who act wrongly, we must find ways to transform and guide them, helping them escape from the sea of suffering. Ordinary people may despise those who are bad, but sages and Buddhas never harbor hatred toward anyone. This time the Confucian tradition is included, and what Confucius and Mencius taught is precisely benevolence, righteousness, and morality. Among 100 virtues, filial piety stands first. Filial piety and fraternal respect are the fundamental roots. Without parents, How could we exist? Without the Eternal Mother, how could we exist? Therefore, fulfilling filial piety toward the Eternal Mother is of utmost importance. All beings in this world are like our brothers and sisters. If you harbor hatred toward your own younger brother, would your mother be happy? Of course not. Likewise, since all beings are the children of the Eternal Mother, if you despise them, the Eternal Mother will surely be saddened. Therefore, the infinite heaven is within us, and heaven is right before our eyes. Once this fleshly body decays, what heaven could one still ascend to? True heaven exists here in the human world. It is filial piety and fraternal respect. Confucius taught, "Respect the elderly in my family and extend that respect to the elderly in other families," meaning that we honor the aged just as we revere our own parents. Our parents have grown old, and so have the parents of others, thus, we should treat the parents of others as we would our own. Disciple Yu also said, "Filial piety and fraternal respect are the root of human virtue. Therefore, brothers must respect and love one another, extending this love to all beings in the world. If everyone holds a heart of tolerance and magnanimity, the world will naturally be at peace." The guiding principle of the Tao is to transform all under heaven into one family, making the world a place of great unity. Heaven has opened universal salvation, gathering all religions back to one source, so that true harmony may be realized. At present, heaven's will is to save all original Buddha children. When we set our hearts on delivering sentient beings, we are aligning with heaven's intention, leading all our brothers and sisters back to the infinite true heaven. This is our solemn responsibility. The scriptures of the three teachings and the admonitions of the immortals and Buddhas, when examined and compared, if found to be good, must be put into practice. Knowing that filial piety toward parents is good, then one must practice filial piety. In the classic of filial piety, Confucius taught, "Establish yourself in the way, make your name known to posterity, and thereby bring honor to your parents." This is the ultimate fulfillment of filial piety. If one merely provides food and clothing for one's parents without a heart of reverence, it is no different from feeding animals, and cannot be called true filial piety. Only when one can guide one's parents to heaven can it be considered the highest form of filial devotion. The most important thing is to cultivate the family. You must fulfill your duty so that the whole household practices the Tao together. And through this you can deliver your parents. The grace of your parents' upbringing is truly beyond repayment. Now heaven has granted the great amnesty of the three realms, allowing parents to be redeemed and family members to return to the infinite true heaven. This is what is called complete fulfillment. Performing works and nurturing virtue is your own responsibility. It has nothing to do with the Master, nor with anyone else. The merits you establish are not offerings to the Master. The Master cannot practice the Tao in your place, nor can he save you. He can only point out the path. Whether you walk it or not is up to you. If you refuse to walk, the Master is powerless, and even the immortals and Buddhas cannot help you. Therefore, you must make your own vows, perform your own works, and fulfill your own vows. No one can do it for you. A day has passed. This morning I, as a humble disciple, have already spoken, and the lecturers have also shared. Yet you only listened superficially and thus remember little. Just now, the transmitting masters have nominated you to serve as altar hosts, lecturers, and service staff, which means you must shoulder greater responsibility. From ancient times until now, all Buddhas and immortal sages have cultivated on their own and made their own vows. Today, heaven has widely opened universal salvation. Anyone can spread the Tao. But no one forces us, it is entirely out of our own willingness. The key to entering the Tao is to give rise to the vow. The heart is the vow. When you make a vow before the Buddhas, it is the expression of your true sincerity. From that moment on, you must take responsibility yourself and dedicate your vow to saving sentient beings. Why must one make a vow? Because the Tao is natural, no one forces us. And it is not like a religious association that collects fees and meets at fixed times. In the Tao, if you joyfully give rise to the heart, then you serve, no one compels you. It is like Mr. Go, who willingly spent his own money and endured hardship to build the temple. Not because anyone told him to do so. He contributed his effort and wealth, while others offered support, and today we all share in the light from that. He has truly performed meritorious deeds, while we who merely stay for a day cannot be regarded as having done so. Throughout the ages, all sages and immortal Buddhas have been like this. Even Shakyamuni Buddha once held Dharma assemblies, just as we do today. A vow is established by oneself. If one fails to fulfill it, one must take responsibility and cannot blame others. A vow is what binds and disciplines us. If you have vowed before the Buddha to keep a vegetarian diet, then when the desire for meat arises, you must not act against that sacred commitment. Those who have already made vows in the past do not need to make them again today. What the transmitting masters are doing is simply nominating new members to shoulder additional responsibilities. If you are joyful and willing, then go ahead and make a vow. But if you are not willing, or feel that you cannot fulfill it, then you do not need to make one. This is by no means forced. Everything depends on your own reflection and careful consideration. Lecturers have the responsibility of lecturers. Altar hosts have the responsibility of altar hosts. And the responsibility of the altar host is the most important. When fellow practitioners come, you must warmly welcome them and clearly explain things. People cultivate the Tao together with the altar host, not with the transmitting master. The transmitting master is only a representative of the teacher to transmit the Tao. The Tao has already been passed to you. Whether you cultivate or not, whether you spread it or not, is your own responsibility. If you have made a vow but later break it, then you must bear that responsibility yourself. You cannot blame the predecessors or the transmitting master. The opening and development of Tao affairs in a place depend on the altar host there. If many later disciples are guided, then you become the leader of that region. Human beings naturally aspire upward. We hope that in the future everyone will attain a spiritual position. Now heaven has granted the great pardon of the three realms. Whoever spreads the Tao will succeed. As time is limited, each of you must carefully reflect. If you have already made a vow, there is no need to make it again. If you truly have the heart, then make it. If you turn back, then make it. Do you understand? Yes, we understand. Good. If there were no confirmation, the Tao could not be spread throughout the nations of the world. You have already made vows, and I have just reminded you again. Those vows are indeed our sacred mission. We are carrying out heaven's mandate in spreading the Tao, and surely we will return to heaven. What we do is to save the world and rescue humanity. Each person is a living Buddha and must not look down upon themselves. Cultivating the Tao means cultivating the mind, and speaking the Tao must come from a sincere heart. We are willing to bear losses so that others may find joy. The merits established are shared collectively by everyone. All of us are masters of this place. For the altar host is the true master. To save all people, to guide sentient beings in this world toward heaven, this is our shared aspiration. Whether it can be accomplished or not, whether it succeeds or not, rests with heaven's will, yet as long as we have devoted our whole heart, it is already complete. Confucius once traveled among the feudal states, hoping to transform the world into a great harmony. Though he did not fully achieve it, because he gave his utmost heart, he became a sage and is revered by all humanity. Our honorable master and holy mother are the same. They carried out the universal salvation of the three realms and have already returned to heaven. Though their mission was not entirely finished, their vow was fulfilled in full. If you have already made a vow but then abandon it halfway and no longer practice, it is as if nothing exists. We must be consistent from beginning to end. Cultivating the Tao is fundamentally equal, without distinction of wealth or poverty, nobility or lowliness, gender or age. Whoever spreads the Tao will attain success, and whoever cultivates the Tao will attain realization. Always remember that all of us are disciples of living Buddha Ji Gong. We ourselves are little living Buddhas. This is not wrong. But if our hearts change and no longer hold the Buddha's mind, then that Buddha is gone. As long as we devote our whole heart, that is enough. We spread the Tao as much as we are able. Hopefully, in the future, all of us can fulfill our vows, return to the infinitely heaven, and each have a place in heaven, so that everyone may rejoice, and even our 9 generations of ancestors may be liberated. Cultivating the Tao and spreading the Tao. The teacher has Buddha's regulations. You must regulate the family, which means ensuring that the whole family cultivates the Tao together. If you cultivate the Tao well, you can deliver your parents, to deliver your grandparents. You must have even greater merit to deliver ancestors from many generations further up. You must have even greater merit still. Ordinary practitioners cannot dare to casually deliver their ancestors. Therefore, the responsibility of a temple host is to wholeheartedly shoulder this duty. The teachings I have given today have been made clear. Everyone should gradually put them into practice. Do you understand? If you understand, then that is good. May you all be peaceful. Today's class is now concluded. These past days everyone has worked hard. Yet do not worry, for heaven records everything clearly. Once we have sought the Tao, each fulfills their own vow and carries out their own merits. After the transmitting master confers the Tao, he departs and no longer oversees it. So, what is the purpose of seeking the Tao? Our destiny originates from heaven, and one day we must return to heaven to submit our mandate. Whether we spend money, endure hardship, or assist in spreading the Tao, all is faithfully recorded in heaven's register of merits. Human lifespans differ, some are long, others short. In cultivating the Tao, we must steadfastly uphold the Tao heart. In the human world, if one's son attains the title of top scholar while one remains illiterate, the reflected honor is merely a karmic affinity of this life. Yet in the lotus dais, seats cannot be shared, for merit must be established by each person alone. Cultivating the Tao means making and fulfilling a vow. After attaining the Tao, one must sincerely safeguard it, that is, to wholeheartedly uphold one's vow. At the same time, one must also truly repent. Repent of what? Of the greed, anger, ignorance, and attachments of this life. To harbor anger is already to bear sin and fault. Why? Because as disciples of the Master and children of the Eternal Mother, if we hold resentment, is that not resentment against the Mother and the Master themselves? Therefore, I remind you of the vow. Our past transgressions have already been forgiven by heaven. But from this day onward, we must become new persons, sincere and reverent. All beings are children of the Eternal Mother. We should vow to guide everyone to heaven, to escape the sea of suffering. That is great merit and true virtue. If one still clings to anger, how can one claim to have virtue? Thus, one must clearly understand the principle of being human. Repentance must be carried out with sincerity and reverence. If one is false in heart and insincere toward the Tao, or retreats in fear without advancing, it means one is not devoted to the Tao, and will face heaven's punishment, meaning destruction by heaven's decree. If you do not keep the Dharma rules, it is to betray the Master and destroy the Patriarch. The Dharma rules were established by the Venerable Patriarch and the Master. If you do not abide by them, it is to dishonor the Master and betray the Patriarch. What is a senior, Tian Nyan? It is one who sought the Tao earlier than you. You must respect them and never slander them. To reveal heaven's secrets means that after receiving the three treasures, if you carelessly go about telling them everywhere, that is revealing heaven's secrets. To conceal the Tao and not manifest it means that though you have attained the Tao and know its preciousness, you do not guide people. And even when you see someone with spiritual potential, you do not share it. This is to hide the Tao and not let its value shine forth. To act within one's capacity means to know your own limits, whatever strength you have. Exert it fully. One must be a good person in society. For example, if fellow brothers and sisters in the Tao resent one another, how can they still be called brothers and sisters? Would that not sadden our parents? Now that we are all children of the Eternal Mother, we must love one another and draw close. As true Tao kin, there is not only one senior, Tian Nyan, but many. Some became transmitting masters not because of good temperament or favorable circumstances, but because they constantly guided people. It was through saving others that they were appointed transmitting masters. Even our master had seniors. Yet one such senior did not cultivate, did not practice, and even harbored anger. Our master became a patriarch in this lifetime. But that senior could not. He only became a transmitting master. And being a transmitting master does not necessarily mean becoming a Buddha. We must understand, the one who lights the fire and cooks the meals, enduring hardship, that is true work and true goodness. This is what is called virtue. If you cannot cultivate the Tao and fulfill your vows, then you cannot achieve the Tao. A person who harbors anger cannot attain the Tao. Do the Buddhas ever harbor anger toward others? Thus, When we meet those who are unkind, those who harm us, those who slander us, we should instead show them even greater respect, transform them, and guide them. This is what is truly called merit. The transmitting masters among you have borne hardship, spent money, and endured fatigue, yet they remain deeply devoted to the Tao. They serve with a single heart for the Tao, though their tempers may not be ideal. They still accomplish great deeds, establish great virtue, and expand the work of the Tao. If, afterward, they no longer oversee us, and we in turn become displeased or even resentful, this is truly improper. Cultivating the Tao is not about cultivating worldly emotions or personal attachments. Worldly people often act like this: if you treat me well, I will treat you well. If you help me, I will thank you. But in the Tao, one must clearly understand the 10 great vows. For example, if your son is not good, you should reproach yourself for lacking virtue, not blame him. If your son is good, naturally you rejoice. And when your disciples, the juniors you have guided, advance to higher positions, you also share in their honor. On the other hand, if none of those you have guided attain the Tao, then what is there to be joyful about? This principle must first be understood. Today, the Tao has spread across nations throughout the world. The Tao is the universal Tao. We cultivate it by looking to heaven, not to people. If it were about people, this disciple would have perished long ago, for they once arrested me, scolded me, and resented me. What could I have done? After I sought the Tao, it was heaven that healed my serious illness, and my sickness was quickly cured. As long as the seniors go forth to guide others, if one becomes a transmitting master, another a temple host, and another a Buddha, then we are the forerunners of Buddhas. How joyful that is! On the other hand, if none of the disciples you guide attain the Tao, then it is all wasted. You are all temple workers who have already rendered service. Truly, every bit of your merit is remembered by heaven, it will never be buried. Heaven has established this Dharma vessel, and the divine beings and Buddhas all safeguard it. Whether sweeping roads, clearing ditches, planting vegetables, or pedaling a bicycle to sell them, you must still guide people. Each person must establish a vow. Without a vow, one could never come to this temple. This great Dharma vessel of the Eternal Mother carries all her children. So each of you must hold firmly to your vow. To go against one's vow is to invite heaven's thunderous punishment. Every merit is recorded in heaven's book. When you return to heaven, a place will be granted to you. Heaven will not deceive nor conceal your virtue. Going forth personally to expand the Tao, that is true reality. Look, men and women, young and old, from Taiwan all cultivate the Tao. And now even in Indonesia, this is not by human strength alone. How could mankind have such power without the protection of the divine beings and Buddhas? This, you must understand clearly. It is like within a family. If you keep criticizing your younger brother for being bad, would your parents be happy or pleased? Certainly not. If your younger brother falls into indulgence, drinking, gambling, or vice, then as the elder brother you must try even harder to save him. Just as you sought the Tao earlier, you must show him respect and guide him when he sincerely wishes to correct his faults and turn toward goodness. Your parents will surely rejoice. This principle is very clear. If you cannot even understand this, then even in the temple you cannot attain the Tao. For merely being in the temple does not mean attaining the Tao. Likewise, when you guide disciples and one of them becomes a transmitting master, calling you his senior, is that not a joy? Yet if you become resentful because your disciple was appointed a transmitting master instead of you, that is a grave mistake. The Tao cannot be separated from human emotions. Even in recommending and promoting others it is the same. If you are displeased with others, they will be displeased with you. And if you meet a wicked man in society and he stabs you simply because of mutual dislike, how dangerous that would be. Practitioners must embody great compassion. Like an elder who patiently endures hardship, everyone who sees it praises such toil as noble merit. Heaven has its own record book. There is no need to flaunt it before others. The seniors often say, I already believe in the Tao. But think carefully, what use is believing in the Tao if you have not yet led your parents to heaven? Your parents raised you from childhood to adulthood. Have you fulfilled filial piety by delivering them from suffering to heaven? If your parents fall into hell and you ignore them, then what kind of Tao do you believe in? If you cannot even do a single good deed, what does it mean to believe in the Tao? People worship the Buddha and bow before statues. But if the heart does not hold the Buddha's mind, then such bowing is only to wood and stone. If one has the Buddha's mind, then one is a Buddha oneself. Without it, one is not a Buddha. We are all disciples of living Buddha Ji Gong. The vows that I, this humble disciple, have made, sacrifice myself to spread the Tao, offer both wealth and dharma, and bear the burden to save the world, I have already carried out. This physical body must sooner or later be discarded. It is nothing to cling to. Having fulfilled my vow, that itself is true merit. But if you have not fulfilled your vow, then even if you guide 100 people, it will not succeed. Saving people is a matter of destiny. For they are children of the Eternal Mother, disciples of the Master. Even without you, they would still believe in and spread the Tao. Your true duty is to help them go forth and expand the Tao's work. That is when you truly have merit. Cultivating the Tao has no distinction of earlier or later, no division of pioneers or juniors. The teacher once taught, if the pioneer has merits, then those merits belong to the pioneer. If the junior has merits, then those merits belong to the junior. What benefit is there in being a pioneer? Even our teacher had a pioneer before him, so why did that person not attain the Tao? Our teacher became a patriarch in one lifetime, yet even he had a guiding master. Just like we do. Wherever I go, I always explain the Buddha's precepts to people. If your son has not yet sought the Tao, you should plead with him. If your mother has not yet sought the Tao, you should also plead with her. Once you are a lecturer, you must read daily the scriptures of the three teachings, the 4 books, the Great Learning, the Doctrine of the Mean, and the Tao Te Ching. Cultivating the Tao is the destiny of your own life. It is not for others, nor is it to preach for others. The Tao is your life. Once you have attained this one point, it is your destiny. If you discard that destiny, no one can control you. But if you scold others, harbor anger, then that is not cultivating the Tao. Cultivating the Tao must include harmonizing the family, meaning the whole family cultivates together. If one day you depart this world and return to heaven, while your father or your son falls into hell, then what is the point of you being in heaven? Would you not feel a guilty conscience? The grand salvation of the 3 tribunals has never happened before. Look, the great Tao is now spreading to all nations. This is not the work of 1 or 2 people, it is the work of heaven. Heaven holds the authority, people cannot decide it. In Taiwan, the military command once arrested me, and military law sentenced me to prison. That was heaven's decree, no one else could intervene. I spent 2 days in jail, which counted as settling my sins. That is why, even now at the age of 93, I am still alive, so that I may atone. I sat in prison, sentenced to 4 months, orders handed down from the command and enforced by the police. So I say, it was good, it was atonement. Cultivating the Tao means cultivating the mind. The mind must be cultivated to be upright, bright, and righteous. Do not keep looking at the faults of others. If you constantly see the bad in others and give rise to anger, that itself is demonic. The Buddhist scriptures clearly teach this. How could a Buddha ever harbor anger toward anyone? When encountering someone unkind, even if they scold you, you should say, "Thank you for helping me atone for my sins." That is true heaven. But if you keep criticizing others as being bad, that is hell. That is the sea of suffering. The same applies in the family. If you are always thinking your father is bad, your mother is bad, your children are bad, then no matter how well you dress or how fine your meals are, you are still living in suffering. Parents who raised us from childhood to adulthood are living Buddhas. Thinking this way naturally brings joy. When eating a meal, be grateful to everyone, especially to the one who worked hard to cook. With gratitude, the food will taste fragrant and sweet. But if you see a fly in the rice and start complaining angrily, then the meal will no longer taste good. In the past, when I established a Buddha hall, I did it entirely on my own. No one told me what to do. And even the seniors did not manage me. Nor did I see them again. The transmitting master at the time was from Shandong, after conferring the Tao. He left and no longer guided me. The Tao must be spread by one's own effort. The Great Mother established this Dharma vessel. And whoever helps to support the Tao is already a heavenly immortal. If you are unhappy or unwilling, then do not come. Once we have received the Tao, We are all disciples of Ji Gong Living Buddha, all senior and junior brothers and sisters. If we look at the good in one another, everything will be good, but if we only focus on the faults, then we ourselves create a sea of suffering and invite affliction. As I have said, if you have not yet regulated your family, meaning the whole family cultivates the Tao together, then you must find a way to do so. If your son has not sought the Tao, you should earnestly plead with him, and he will surely seek it. If your father has not sought the Tao, you should also beg him, but always with proper respect. In ancient China, some people set up an incense burner and established associations. After receiving the heavenly beings' training, they returned home and even bowed to estranged relatives to move them to transformation. The great universal salvation is a matter of life and death for us. One must realize that the body is illusory, but life itself is what truly matters. The physical body is not yours, it may be gone at any moment. Now that the Tao has spread across nations, this is the very last opportunity. Our teacher has passed away. The elder pioneers are gone, so we must be even more diligent. To practice merits is to fulfill one's vows, and to fulfill vows is to practice merits. The karmic debts from countless past lives must all be settled in this lifetime. If not, you cannot return. If you neglect this and let things slide, you will fall into hell. When death approaches and you weep in regret, it will be too pitiful. Those who have attained the Tao face death with joy, freed from the sea of suffering. Spouses, children, wealth, all before your eyes are but illusions. Even this body is not truly yours, it may vanish at any time. When you sleep, you are unaware of the body, even unaware of your children. Is that not like being dead? When you open your eyes, you live again. Death is like a sleep from which you do not awaken. If you take the body as real, you invite suffering. If your wife leaves with another, she is gone. Fretting is useless. If your husband commits adultery and you try to cling to him, it only brings greater danger. What I say is the truth. In the past, when I was in China, I had 3 legal advisors. When I went to Taiwan, I also brought along one. But later I realized that all of this was unnecessary. Even houses, wife, and children, I did not cling to. If I had clung to them, then in the 38th year of the Republic, that is 1949, I would already have been buried alive. And it would have been impossible to survive until today. The immortals and Buddhas once taught, if you have wealth, you have sin. At first, I did not believe it, thinking, how could that be? But after experiencing it myself, I understood, and from then on I fully obeyed the words of the immortals and Buddhas. The Tao is the sacred Tao, heaven's established teaching. The words of the immortals and Buddhas must be carefully examined. If there is truth, we must listen. No matter who speaks it, if it is not truth, then we should not listen, even if it is spoken by the immortals and Buddhas. Heaven determines one's position according to one's merits. The merits are yours, and the faults are yours. If in cultivating the Tao you measure with personal emotions, for example, if you see someone in the Buddha hall not treating you well and stop coming, or you grow angry because someone mistreated you, then that is delusion. The living Buddha once said, with little blessing and a fragile life, who do you think you can follow to cultivate the Tao? If you cannot see through such small matters and continue to cling to worldly emotions, you will turn your own life into a sea of suffering, with endless afflictions. Others will avoid you, and no one will care about you. To cultivate the Tao is to cultivate the mind. To spread the Tao is to devote your whole heart. If we give our effort to save humanity and bring benefit to all, that is true joy. If you guide many people but not one attains the Tao, then what merit do you have? If you guide 100 people but not a single one achieves it, then you yourself cannot attain the Tao. But if the disciples you have guided all become Buddhas, then you are the foremost Buddha. This is what our master taught, and it is completely true. Just like President Lee of Taiwan, his father was once just a farmer, looked down upon by many. But when his son became president, everyone respected his father, calling him the honored father of the president. The same is true for your disciples. When they advance, you, as their senior, also share in the glory. Each person has their own temperament. Cultivating the Tao means correcting faults, discarding bad temperaments, and seeing everyone as a Buddha. We have all come bearing heaven's mandate. We are all Buddha's disciples descended into this world. Heaven sent us here, and now heaven calls us back. opening only one path. If you are willing, you may go. If you are unwilling, then not even the saints and Buddhas can save you. Bowing your head every day is useless, for your life must be saved by yourself. We are disciples of the living Buddha Ji Gong, and once accepted, we are forever his disciples. If you are unwilling to remain a disciple of the Master and instead bow to outsiders as teachers, it is your own doing, and heaven's register will erase your name. A Dharma master once came to Indonesia to teach mind seal and meditation. In truth, we have already received this 1 point, heart-to-heart transmission, the very thing that sages and Buddhas of old have passed down. You do not study it, so you do not know. Once you know, you must propagate the Tao. This 1 point is your destiny. Houses and wealth are not truly yours. Your body is not truly yours, it may be lost at any time. If you create sin, you must descend to hell by yourself. If you have merits, those merits belong to you, and with them you can ascend to heaven. We hope everyone may be good. If only you are good, how can society be good? If society had only you as the one good person, you could not survive in it. Just as in the Buddha halls, whether male or female, young or old, you must be grateful to all. Without others, could you alone spread the Tao? One who attains the Tao but does not believe, the saints say, has shallow roots from past lives. One who attains the Tao and believes has deep roots. By practicing and spreading the Tao, your 9 generations of ancestors will be delivered. When the grand assembly of the dragon flower is opened, merit will be judged according to your deeds, and you will have a share. If you refuse and stop spreading the Tao, then in heaven your name will not be found. Your destiny must be saved by yourself. The merits you have built are yours. But blaming others is useless. Resentment and anger are nothing but an ocean of suffering. In the world there are no troubles, only ordinary people create chaos. The principle of the Tao is to harmonize all teachings, to unite them as one. Only then can the world truly become good. We are all disciples of the living Buddha Ji Gong, each with our own spiritual roots, all born by heaven's will. However, the karmic debts accumulated over many lifetimes differ from person to person. If your son is not good, it is a karmic debt you must repay from past lives. Do not be troubled. If your son is good, if your father is good, it is a blessed affinity from past lives, and you should be all the more joyful and strive to do good. We hope for good families, a good society, and a good nation. In everything, we must practice patience. This is the perfection of forbearance taught by the Buddha. When others scold you, take it as clearing away your karma. Once it is over, let it go. Never forget that we are all Dharma brothers and sisters, as human beings. We must repay kindness. To fulfill one's vow is to perform merit, and good deeds are always hard to do. Now is the time of the ancient Buddha Maitreya bringing the final fulfillment. The very last stage, we must have a broad, tolerant heart, endure hardship, and be patient. Cultivating the Tao is about undergoing refinement. Without refinement, one cannot become a Buddha. When I first sought the Tao, there were many trials. Under the training of the saints and Buddhas, I was tormented by others. After 3 weeks outside, I saw people as little demons, not realizing that this was the process of fulfilling vows. Now, at the final stage, such trials have become lighter, no longer as severe. The most important thing now is to hold firmly to your vow. Spread the Tao as much as you can. Everyone who has sought the Tao is a disciple of the Master. Be sincere, respectful, courteous, and careful in speech and conduct. Do not discuss gossip or slander. Your life is your own. Heaven's Tao is fair. Whoever practices will receive, not merely by listening. Everyone has a heavenly mandate. If you have the ability to expand the Tao's work, then once you have expanded it, you will take on leadership. You must understand the Buddha's rules established by the Master. The affairs of the world are handled by the people of the world. Everyone has a responsibility to shoulder. For each person carries a heavenly mandate. Today, the heavenly Tao has spread across nations. Each person must shoulder responsibility. Simply sitting and watching is useless. Just like at the Muc Duc Buddha Hall when I was there, I bore responsibility and handled all matters. You, my fellow pioneers, must also learn to spread the Tao. Dharma assemblies should be organized by yourselves. Do not wait for people from Taiwan and thus delay the work of saving others. Each of you is capable of speaking, it is only because you do not try. Not because you are incapable. At the Buddha halls, there are daily study classes, every 10 days, 20 days, or a month. Classes can be held when there are many people gathered together for study. In these classes, everyone must practice speaking. Over time, you will discover your own eloquence. When you speak for others to hear, the saints and Buddhas will add wisdom to you. If you only wait to listen to others, nodding along, or even dozing off, it is of no benefit. The saints teach. Wisdom is like water from a well, the more you draw, the more abundant and clear, but if left stagnant, it will become foul. Wisdom is like a well, the more you use it, the more it flows. At first, I too did not dare to speak. The saints told me to hold a book and speak, if I still dared not, then at least read from the book. Research classes and Dharma assemblies need not wait for anyone else. Even for a transmitting master, you need not wait for him, he is busy spreading the Tao everywhere. If you wait for him, how can it be timely? The vows established by lecturers and altar hosts are the same. You, my fellow pioneers, must heed my words. When you stand up and speak, your wisdom will grow, your spirit will improve, and the number of people you guide will increase. If here you do not dare to speak, and there you also do not dare, your wisdom cannot open. Only by speaking to others will your wisdom unfold. Listen to me. The Tao's work will surely flourish. Even within your family, your children must be taught, even the young ones must hear. From beginning to end, everyone must know the Buddha's rules, it is not limited to a select few. The Tao descends to the common people. To save all beings, everyone has a heavenly mandate. If you follow this principle, the Tao's work will surely prosper, and joy will abound. If you only listen to one person, or wait for the pioneers from Taiwan to come before holding assemblies, then you will delay salvation too much. You must save people quickly. What are you waiting for? Stand up and do it now. That is the right way. Very well. May everyone be at peace.
Dear friends, if you find this video helpful, please take a moment to give it a like, subscribe to the Divine Grace Teachings channel, and share it with other fellow believers. The merit is boundless. Thank you to all the angels of God.